Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers. This is Second Watch with Rod Babers. Rod, each and every week you break down the game. After watching it a second time, you go over a couple of key themes that you took away from the contest. Texas beating Vanderbilt 27-24 in Nashville. Let's go over, and you got me a couple of things that you want to hit. The first things first, highest blitz rate Quinn has faced all season came not against Georgia, not against OU, but against Vanderbilt. And we talked in the post game that the book is out on Quinn a little bit. Looks like that's the book that other teams want to follow right now. Highest blitz rate Quinn has faced all season. What'd you think about that? And what is it exactly that you're seeing teams do to Texas right now?
Yeah, it's very interesting, because I didn't expect the offensive line to give up 4 sacks in that game. So now you're talking about 11 sacks allowed in the last 2 games. There's something going on. And it's clear that Vanderbilt actually took some lessons from that Georgia game plan. We knew they would. We just didn't know exactly what they would take. That's football in a nutshell. If you got a weakness, that's why it's a copycat game. Everybody's going to try to copy and replicate that game plan. Well, what Vanderbilt took was the inside A-gap blitzes and the cornerback blitz. I went back and looked at it and looked at essentially the 6 biggest defensive plays for Vanderbilt in this game were the 2 tipped interceptions and the 4 sacks. They were big plays for them defensively. And if you're going to look at them, 2 of those tipped it, and you're going to look at those tipped interceptions. All right. One was an A-gap blitz. One was a cornerback blitz that led to the tip and then led to the interception. It was the A-gap blitz defender that tipped the football. It was the cornerback blitz defender that tipped the football on the second tipped interception. And then when you look at it, I say, oh, so maybe that's a little interesting. So on those 6 plays, out of those 6 plays, 2 of those 6 plays included an A-gap blitz out of the 4 sacks and the 2 tipped interception. 2 of them were just A-gap blitz plays, and 4 out of the 6 were cornerbacks blitz plays. So if you look at it, 5 out of those 6 plays, the big splash plays, included the 2 kind of main theme concepts, which were they want to blitz through the A-gap and they want the cornerback blitz. So basically, based on their game plan, to me, that implies that they thought Texas had issues dealing with the cornerback blitz, or that if for them it was a slot cornerback blitz, they did have the cornerback blitz on one, but they basically has a slot cornerback blitz. For Texas versus Georgia, it was the boundary corner. That was a corner that was really close to the formation. Still same concept, same principle. And then the A-gap blitz, Georgia ran it with a double mug. They call it a double shotgun, double barrel A-gap blitz, basically coming through both those A-gaps on both sides of the center. But for Vandy, they did it basically with one guy coming through the A-gap. But still, you can tell they kind of took that. That kind of took that from the Georgia game plan. So to me, for Texas, you got to solve those problems. That's the beauty of football, right? Football is a sport about problem solving. You got to solve your problems, that whatever that plagued you in previous weeks past, or that came up in your previous loss, whatever it was. Because if not, it's a film study game. Other teams are going to try to copy that blueprint. It's a great idea by Vanderbilt to take the cornerback blitz. They threw the cornerback blitz on 4 of those plays, man. That there was a slot cornerback blitz on a sack. They had the slot cornerback blitz on the tipped interception as well. Another slot cornerback blitz on a sack. Ended up getting a half a sack for that one. And on the 3rd and 9 sack, there was a cornerback blitz and an A-gap blitz simultaneously on that one. So it was clear they had something that they found out. Now, basically, blitzing is gambling, guys. It's gambling. It's a roll of the dice, because there were times where Quinn made them pay. Remember the DeAndre Moore touchdown on the wheel route? That was a blitz pickup. Quinn saw it. Boom, hit the guy. Ended up being a big play. Ended up being a touchdown. The Gunnar Helm 22-yard reception. They blitzed him on that one. They came after him. It was actually, I think it was a 6-man blitz on that one. And Quinn stayed in the pocket. They gave him just enough protection, and he hit Gunnar Helm over the middle. Might be one of the best throws of the year. And Gunnar Helm was able to get 20-plus yards on that reception too. So Texas made them pay a lot of times on those blitzes. But think about it. If you're a defense, isn't it worth it on just those 6 plays if you can get a sack or you can get an interception or a turnover? So that's what Vandy figured out, and that's why their blitz rate was basically close to 50%. They were at a 50% blitz rate because they figured, hey, it's gambling, baby. We're going to win or we're going to lose. They're playing roulette at that point. And for them, it actually worked out. I think they end up paying the price for it on a couple of plays, but I think it was worth it for them considering the return on that investment.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you said, so basically on three quarters of a play, or three plays from the cornerback blitz, or 4 plays were cornerback blitz, and 2 of them were A-gap blitz. So of the 6 total plays, one of them was a both, so it counted both. 5 of the 6 actually came from a cornerback blitz or A-gap blitz, or both combined.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive stat there, because if you think about it, those plays don't happen, Texas walks with this game.
They run away with it.
Yeah. Did you also mentioned in beforehand when we were talking that you thought Vanderbilt also moved their front more than they had been previously, based on what you saw either Georgia and or Oklahoma have success with as well. Is that something that you saw here, or explain what you saw exactly, I guess?
Yeah, I think you saw more of them prior to the snap, trying to time it out and move prior to the snap, or change their front and make it malleable and manipulate it prior to the snap. I think I saw more of that just based on what I saw. I did not actually track it. But I heard them in the broadcast. I heard the broadcast guys also mention, I was like, man, they said Vandy was moving around a lot. I think they moved around a lot. That was also another lesson I think they took from Georgia. If you want to try to confuse the blocking schemes for Texas, not only can you use the cornerback blitz, I can use the interior gap blitzes from your linebackers. And I was going to say something else. Delayed blitzes, man. Delayed blitzes. Once the protection is set, once all the pass rushers are declared with their blockers, having a guy come in late. Georgia did a lot of that, and I saw that from the cornerback blitz for them too. It wasn't always right off the bat. It wasn't always as soon as the ball was snapped. There was also a delay, and I almost feel like they do that purposefully and intentionally. At least we know Kirby Smart did, to try to confuse the blocking schemes. Once you work as a spy, all right, once it's declared and you go, you add yourself now to the rush. You add, and it almost feels like there was some of the delayed blitzes from the second level guys that also were able to confuse the blocking schemes too. So they did a really good job. I did not think they would get 4 sacks. I did not think they would get as much pressure as they did. I think it was 17 total pressures that Pro Football Focus ended up tracking in that one. So I did not think that would be the case. They did a really good job. And Texas, their passing game was a quick passing game. So it was not easy to get pressure. It's hard to get pressure on a passing game when the ball is out quick. Texas did not throw the football downfield a ton, and yet they were still, the few times Texas did try to look down the field, they were very judicious. And I think they were smart and aware of when they called those blitzes. On third down, when they knew Texas was throwing the football, they sent their guys.
All right. You said confused the blocking scheme of Texas. Does this, in your opinion, bye week come at the right time? So an offensive line, a running back room, as well as a tight end room, can kind of understand what teams are trying to do at them, because clearly they weren't, or they haven't been as well prepared for those blitzes as they should have been, or they hadn't seen them as much up to now. Yeah,
because Georgia did a variety of things. I mean, Georgia got to Quinn in so many different ways, and to Arch as well. So many. I mean, it was 3-man rush, 4-man rush. They came with an all-out, zero blitz. They came with 5-man blitz. I mean, they beat guys one-on-one. There was only 1 sack in this game. That was just Cam Williams getting beat straight up by a guy. Yeah. But everything else was a schematic advantage of some kind. So I'm going to go back and look at all the sacks so far this season, because it wasn't an issue before Georgia. Pass protection wasn't a huge issue for Texas. Now you got to go back and look, and I got to go back and check how many of them came via the blitz, how many of them came via an A-gap, penetration. So how many of them came with a cornerback coming off the edge, and try to see if maybe they figured out something. Because in previous years past, we've seen the Texas offensive line struggle with things like, assimilated pressures, right? That was one of the big things Texas struggled with previously in the past. Teams line up in a radar front, or what they call a ghost front. Every 7-8 guys cross the line of scrimmage, drop back 3, send 4, drop back 4, send 3, and then it would confuse the blocking schemes because of lack of communication. So I got to figure out what's the trend here, because in the last 2 weeks that has been a trend, like the A-gap blitzes. But like I said, Georgia did a number of ways. It seems like Vanderbilt just took what worked for them. They're like, no, we can't do everything Georgia did, but we can do these things. They'll work for us. And then that's the challenge to go forward looking for. If you're Texas, you got to figure out, because think about it. Sark told us when the cornerback blitz happened versus Georgia, that was not Quinn's fault. He said that was a breakdown in pass protection. So you already know, like I said, that's a breakdown in pass protection. That ain't Quinn. So if you're trying to replicate that on your other side, you're thinking, okay, so that's not the quarterback looking for the hot. He's not responsible for that. That's on the offensive line. So how can you replicate that in some way? So for me, I think once again, to me, it's a pass protection issue, which involves not just Quinn, O-line, wide receiver, running backs and tight ends, and also your wide receivers who are the hot route. Pass protection is an all-inclusive kind of problem to solve. Like, it's everybody's responsibility to make sure everybody's on the same page. And it doesn't seem like everybody's on the same page right now when it comes to pass protection from Texas. Sometimes Quinn decided to hold on to the ball and took a sack, right? He was just like, oh, I don't see it. Oh, you know what? I'm holding it. And good for him. Good for him, not trying to force it. But that means that there was a breakdown in the route in terms of the hot routes and then the routes that are available in pass protection. So I just think that's a great, you said it, Bubby, it's a great time for the bye week, because it seems like right now they're a little sloppy and there's some miscommunications happening with certain types of blitz pickups and pass protection concepts.
All right, Rod, before we go to the next one, you want to talk, you mentioned about Quinn Ewers, and you're going to give us a little breakdown on that. But before we do that, let's talk about our sponsor, this week's Second Watch with Rod Babers, brought to you by our friends over at South Point Dodge.
Oh, that's right. Thanks, Bobby. South Point Dodge, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including a great selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is the one-stop shop. Also, right now, they have a great deal happening. Over 50 Ram 2500s right now, all marked down with huge savings over at South Point Dodge. You can go check out their exclusive inventory in person right now at I-535 in South Austin, or you can go online right now at southpointdodge.com. Get to the point today at South Point Dodge. Whatever your truck needs, they are Austin's automotive everything, your one-stop shop for everything automotive. That's southpointdodge.com.
Thank you, Rod. Hey, I really want to get into this because there's been some back and forth among Texas fans following that performance by Quinn Ewers. Some are like, okay, he bounced back. I felt like he had a better game than he did against Georgia or Oklahoma, frankly. And there are those that say, wait a minute, if that's a bounce back, that he bounced back like a dead ball. You know what I mean? It wasn't a rubber ball. So what was your takeaway? You charted it, you told me. Tell folks what you found on Second Watch.
I thought he played well, but like I said, I have seen some of the comments and some of the opinions about how he played. It seems like Longhorn fans are moving the goalposts here. We wanted him to just come back, be efficient, and play confidently. And yet now Longhorn fans are mad because a lot of the throws are not down the field. They want more explosive plays via the passing game and things like that. So I would say what I saw basically. Well, look, I told you about the tipped interceptions, right? I told you that was mostly because of the pressure. I'll give a lot of credit to Vanderbilt there, but I'm going to give Sark some credit too, because Sark knows his quarterback. He knows him really well. And when I looked at the game, the first 14 plays offensively were either handoffs, right, but basically just run plays, or they were passing within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. That's essentially a long handoff. That's an extension of the running game. So, and a lot of that got Quinn in a groove early. Those are simple, easy throws. I mean, and his first down the field throw that was past 5 yards was actually the Amari Niblack first catch. By the way,
welcome to the game. Yep.
Did anybody ask him, Bobby? Did anybody ask him about Amari Niblack and where he's been, like what's going on? But it was great to see him. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. It was great to add another weapon to the repertoire and the weaponry of Quinn Ewers. But anyway, that was the first pass that was past 5 yards. And it was a match protection, in my opinion. You had 7 guys in a protected. Running back stayed in, tight end stayed in. There was 12 personnel. You essentially had Amari Niblack go out on one of those deep rainbow crossers along with Ryan Wingo. And then Silas Bolden was the jet sweep guy, and he was the check down. So that was, that's close to being a max protection route. to me, that was schemed. So everything early on, first 15 plays, basically, right? The run plays, if they were throws, they want any full field read progressions. We're talking about first read, wide window, schemed open, premeditated throws, where Quinn knows exactly where the open guy's going to be. I need you to deliver the football on the money like you do. All right. Ball placement being a priority so that you can get yak yards, yak opportunities. Guys, over 75%. All right. Hell, damn near closer to 80% of the total passing yards for Quinn were yak yards, guys. And now it tracks, right? Everything was pretty much a yak catch except for the Silas Bowden 3rd and 20 or the Gunnar Helm reception that he had, the 20+ yard that was over the middle, or the DeAndre Moore deep the touchdown pass that was a target to motion.
The slot fade. Yeah.
The slot fade, right? You remember all the ones that weren't necessarily yak yards because there were so few of them. The truth is, they only threw 9 passes past 10 yards attempted. That's it. What do you have? 37 attempts, something like that. 9 of them, guys. I think one was a throwaway, and it was 4 of 9 on those passes past 10 yards. That now some of y'all don't like that, and y'all like, we need to see Arch because I want to see more passes down the field. Whatever. That's a difference of opinion. But there is no doubt that he got Quinn in the groove, and that was the priority in the game. Like, let's get Quinn in the rhythm, get Quinn in the groove. Guys, see, once when he was 17 or 17. If that ain't a rhythm and that ain't a groove, I don't know what is. No matter, I don't care if it's behind line of scrimmage, 5 yards line of scrimmage, your quarterback completing 17 straight passes, it's fair to say, okay, I think he's feeling good, all right, about the passing game. I know their tipped interceptions were an issue. Kind of took me back to the Washington game. There were a lot of those. It seemed like that was something that Washington had figured out. And now they don't keep. I got to go back and kind of look at every game, and I promise you I will because we got the bye week and try to see what tip passes and there's a stat on it. How many does he have? But I just think ultimately because Texas is such an RPO heavy offense that you can kind of and we I just told you guys, right? I mean, you're talking about 75% of the passing game, 70% of the passing game was within 5 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So you can accurately predict a lot of it's going to be quick game. But I think when they get pressure, I think teams are now trained, hey, they're going to get the ball out quick. I mean, that's just the reality of it. The ball's coming out quick. You're not going to get there, get your hands up and try to, try to block the passing windows, try your best to clog the passing windows. I just think that's a reality. Whether that's a mechanics thing with Quinn and whether, the launch point and the release point, that needs to be different. That's an NFL scouts thing. If you're going to draft them, that's on you to figure that out. At this point, we are where we are. Sark ain't changing his launch point and his release point. It is what it is. Okay, guys? So, I mean, that's just, I think, something you got to live with. That's something that I think Sark and Quinn will have to adjust to if that becomes a major problem. Give Vandy some credit. All right. I mean, I just told you about the schemed up blitzes. Give them a little bit of credit. They figured something out. I think that's also why the short in the quick game stopped late in the game too, Bobby, is because they were playing a lot of too high early on in the game. They started blitzing a lot more late in the game. And that's going to lead you to one single high safeties, but also lead you to more aggressive defensive back play. Because they've been blitzing, the ball's coming out quick. The average time to throw for Quinn on blitzes was 2.1 seconds. Ball's coming out. So ball's coming out. I'm not backing up. Ball's coming out. So I'm going to play everything quicker. And if there are blitzing, especially off the corner, tip passes. Because you're throwing out detached. You're throwing out to the edges. If another tip pass comes, guy catches it, that's something you also have to consider. So I think Sark was just looking at it and saying, you know what, our quick game is not going to work as well as it did in the first half when they were letting us get the numbers advantage on the outside on the perimeter because they had 2 deep safeties. They were going to play everything from depth and from a distance. So I had less problem with the play calling. There was some situational play calling that we could argue down the stretch for Sark that could have been better in terms of running the football to milk the clock. But in terms of getting Quinn in the groove, I thought it was a really good game plan to get Quinn in the groove, and that was our number one priority going in. Yeah.
So basically, good game plan. The one thing that I would ask you, you thought it was a good performance from Quinn? Maybe not. Was it good enough to call it a bounce back performance, or what did you think? Because he was 19 of 21 at half. He was only 8 of 16 in the second half.
Yes, because they were blitzing him. They figured out stuff. They were like, nah, I didn't go back and track the blitz race from first half to second half, But like I said, it feels like to me they were blitzing more in the second half. Once they figured out, like, say, okay, we got some here, guys. We got some. Let's go. And they were blitzing more in the second half. And that's the truth is, Quinn didn't handle the blitz. Listen, Quinn didn't handle pressure well. But here's a news bulletin. Neither does Tom Brady, and neither does Aaron Rodgers, and neither does all the great Patrick Mahomes. May be the one that handles it really well. There ain't many quarterbacks that handle pressure really well. And for Quinn, I think a specific type of pressure is probably the alarming thing. That they found out the slot cornerback blitz works really well. The A-gap blitz. For me, maybe the type of pressure. But pressure, guys, you can get pressure on the quarterback. That's the be all end all. We're all trying to do that because they all perform at a lower level of efficiency when you put pressure on them.
Okay. All right. That's good stuff, Rod. I had a couple other questions for you that you wanted to go over. One of them is you felt like Texas was really close to blowing this game open, what you call the Sark Run in the second quarter. But Texas beset by 25 yards of penalties. One, they came back from on a Cam Williams personal foul penalty, but then Kelvin Banks had a hold penalty. Yep. And Texas went from being able to go up really big to having to end up punting that ball away. That missed opportunity you thought was Sark's opportunity to kind of put his foot on the throat of the Commodores.
Yeah, I mean, you were so close to it. Think about it, guys. The end of that. Think about the basically end of the first quarter through the second quarter. You're really close to making that run because you get that DeAndre Moore 27-yard touchdown. 3rd and 8. That's the end of the first quarter. First quarter's over with there. Because you get the interception from Vanderbilt at also like basically the end of the first quarter. They throw that interception for you. And you get the interception there. All right. That's at the end of the first quarter. Yeah, you get that. And then you for Texas getting the ball back, they punt it. All right. They end up punting it away. And that punt leads to another punt. You get the touchdown to make it 21-7. All right, for DeAndre Moore. That's a 25-yard touchdown, DeAndre Moore. And then your defense gets a fumble for you. And then what do you do with the fumble? 3 and out. So your defense was helping you out. They're getting you the ball back. And you had a chance to get that another touchdown or any score, field goal, whatever. Get any score. And then you could start the Sark Run, right? The complementary football, which really ignites the Sark Run. And then after the fumble, you end up in a punt. And then they get a field goal. Because that punt happened right before the end of the first half. And they end up getting faked because it was a 23-yard punt. If it was a 40-yard punt, maybe you're okay. It was a 23-yard punt. So lack of complementary football, all right, for the special teams and the offense ends up leading to an easy score for them. So it ends up being at halftime, you get your 21-10 lead. Guys, it could have been 27-7. It could have been 30-7. You know what I mean? It could have been and then you get. Remember at half they get the ball back, but your defense forces a 3 and out after half, and then you get a field goal on an 11-play drive where you're just running the football at will. Think about where you'd be if it was a 27-7 game. Then it'd be a 37, or it'd be if you scored. You know what I mean? Like it was very close, right there to the run happening. The second quarter, you missed the run. The second quarter, and it was offense's fault.
Rod, another thing you wanted to talk about, and that we had mentioned in pre-taping, the safety play and the emergence not only of Jelani McDonald in this game, but also the play of Michael Taff. What did you see from Texas at safety that made you want to talk about this on your second watch?
Well, I think that if I was Vanderbilt, I'd try to attack Jelani McDonald. I think they did in a couple of spots, and they went after him a little bit. And it was clear that Jelani McDonald had no problems running the alley, took great angles to the football. I mean, he was phenomenal. Had a tackle for loss. He ran the alley so well on a couple of plays early on in the game. And it really came down and was a force in the run game for Texas. I thought he actually played the run as well as any safety we've seen here in Texas this season. And I was a little surprised by that. I did not expect him to be that much of an impact player in the run game. In pass coverage, they came after him, once or twice. They got, I think, 1 first down reception on him by Stowers, the tight end. But hell, there might be a first-team All-SEC tight end. So that guy's on scholarship too. He
bumped him right after it too. I mean,
exactly.
It wasn't like it's uncontested.
No, I thought he played really well. I came in thinking you need a contingency plan in case they attack him, they go after him. what's your contingency plan behind Jelani McDonald? Well, they didn't need one because he played so well. And then you could make the argument it was Taff's best game. I thought Michael Taff might have had his best game. Had an interception, had a forced fumble, had a pass broken up in the end zone. I think there was a holding call that was on him. They called on Muhammad that actually wasn't Muhammad. But now I don't think I've seen Michael Taff play a better game than he played versus Vanderbilt on the road. So that I don't know if the safeties, and Makuba has been great all season. Derek Williams was fantastic. So you're down, two of your starting safeties. They believe they got three, multiple starting safeties, not just two. I think you're down two starting safeties, and yet I didn't see a drop-off. I did not see a drop-off at all. And I'd say I didn't see a significant drop-off. No, I didn't see a drop-off. Like I said, Taff might have played his best game, and Jelani McDonald was one of your top three leading tacklers on the team. Guy was all over the place making plays. That's phenomenal. To be that deep at safety says a lot. Like I said, I thought they may need Jahdae Barron playing safety, and who knew? I thought they put Kobe Black out there at corner, so they could have had the luxury of putting Jahdae Barron at safety. And that's another thing we got to talk about. Kobe Black just thrown out there at corner. I have not seen that in a critical situation, in a crucial situation. That's what we were. We were in a critical situation here during the game, and Kobe Black was out there. And it wasn't. I haven't heard anything about Jahdae Barron having an injury during the game or anything like that. Seems like they were just rotating him in and wanted to put him out there and see what he could do. And she ended up making a big play on third down for you. End up breaking up a play. Should have had an interception. Ended up getting called back. We all know about that. But I thought Kobe Black played really well, and it makes me think that that's Sark and his staff trying to set an example, or at least put forth the example that you can still win playing time and win a spot on this team. Like it ain't, it's not all set in stone yet. Yeah, there are certain guys who have already, cemented their roles with the team and what their contribution is going to be and how impactful they're going to be. But if you want to steal playing time, you can still do it with this team. Because I thought Gavin Holmes was the, that corner that after Jahdae Barron and after Malik Muhammad, it was Gavin Holmes. So I don't know if anything's wrong with Gavin Holmes. I don't think there it is. I didn't see him on injury report. To me, that's just a young buck, must be in practice, making plays, and he made plays when he got in there. So I think he's earned more playing time. I wouldn't be surprised next game we see more Kobe Black out there. That's how deep that secondary is, guys. That secondary is deep.
You mentioned that, and talking about Jelani McDonald, the talk was, hey, we're going to see some of Jordan Johnson-Rebel on Saturday.
Yeah.
Didn't need to. You mentioned Kobe Black also playing. I just thought Taff, by the way, was singled out by Diego Pavia as being just a tremendous football player. Yeah. He called him number 16 as a special player, is what Pavia said. All right, Rod, that's going to do it for the second watch with Rod Babers for this Sunday. Thanks again to our friends over at South Point Dodge for your sponsorship. For Rod Babers, I'm Bobby Burton. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Second Watch with Rod Babers.